Hello, everybody, and welcome to the War Room. This one is for the UFC Fight Night main event. Beneil Dariush taking on Arman Tsarukyan. A very, very interesting battle this one's going to be. Both very, very impressive fighters, both very technical, well-rounded, different levels of experience, but a lot of experience between them. Beneil Dariush, of course, has been, around the top for a while now. He's been desperate to get his big opportunity. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him against Charles Oliveira, but that doesn't mean that he's not still one of the very best in this division. And of course, Arman Tsarukyan will always stand out in my mind because of his UFC debut against Islam Makhachev. I was on the call for that fight, and I remember researching him before the event and thinking to myself, to make your debut against Makhachev it's just bad luck, isn't it? Just bad luck. But at the same time, when I was researching, I was looking at his fights, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this, for the skills and pace that Makhachev had presented to us at the time, I was thinking to myself, this could be quite an interesting and quite competitive fight, because they occupy similar kind of spaces in the fight, right? Tsarukyan's good on the outside, punches to kicks. He's very good at flicking that lead leg up and catching people in the head and body with it. But of course, his foundation of his game is his wrestling, his top game wrestling. So good at level changing, very, very quick speed, very good at wrestling through ranges as well. So not only does he have one attack, but as we saw from that UFC debut against Makhachev, when the scramble is going, he's very, very much in the mix, being able to keep up with those top level guys. And of course, that's what you're gonna have to expect if you're fighting him. Even if the easiest route to beating Beneil Dariush is to keep him standing and knock him out, it doesn't mean that Tsarukyan won't gravitate towards his comfort zone at some point, especially the longer this fight goes. This is also booked for 25 minutes. And before I do tailor the tape, I thought it was interesting that Beneil Dariush, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, has never been booked for a 5-round fight that he's gone the distance. Never been booked for a 5-round fight. The Charles Oliveira one was 3 rounds. Tsarukyan's been 5 rounds once with Gamrot. He was unsuccessful in that, and I do think that is a good learning experience for him over 5 rounds, but also a good load of research for Beneil Dariush, who's fighting him over 5 rounds, and can kind of see how his pacing does, change as the fight goes on. It was, for me, of course, it was the later rounds, especially if you look at the stats, where Gamrot was able to kind of enforce his game a little better. In the opening rounds, it was very competitive, and Tsarukyan is very, very difficult to deal with when he's fresh at the top of his game at the beginning of the fight. Dariush, for me, has got to kind of maul him a little bit, and he's got to make him work, even if he's losing the rounds in the process, even if he's giving up takedowns, but being able to scramble and threaten off his back and keep the fight moving without being held down and controlled. What he doesn't want to do is give Arman Tsarukyan an easy ride in those first couple of rounds where he can maintain his gas for the next 3 rounds. Dariush is very good at scrapping. He does leave himself open sometimes. You think back to the Drakkar close fight. That was a very close fight. Dariush was hit, and you saw this surge of excitement from Drakkar close, and he comes crashing forward. And then they had this, 15 seconds of kind of winging at one another until Dariush connected. And they're very 50-50 situations, and Tsarukyan, I think he would much rather wrestle than get drawn into one of those scraps with Dariush. Dariush is quite happy to be in the pocket and trade punches, and it doesn't always work out well for him, but sometimes it does. And I feel like his kind of, especially given the fact that he's coming off that loss to Charles Oliveira, there must be some frustration coming out of that, because if you look at the run that he was on, so following his loss at UFC 222 to Hernandez, which was 2018, it feels like a long time ago. He beat Moises, Dober, Camacho, Close, Holtzman, Ferreira, Tony Ferguson, Gamrot by decision, which was very, very impressive for me. Before he went in there and lost to Charles Oliveira. Like, he was on this 8-fight win streak where he's like, give me the opportunity, I need the opportunity. And then he runs into Charles Oliveira, first round finish, doesn't work out well for him. he might be coming into this one thinking, right, I'm kind of in a position where I'm potentially going to give this guy a leg up towards a title shot, and there might be just a chip on his shoulder and a determination to not go away quietly, and that might make him a real handful, especially if he is there for a fight and he is there determined to make Tsarukyan work. Because for me, Dariush is best concentrating on the last couple of rounds. Like, I feel like the first couple of rounds he can be dangerous and he can be competitive, but I feel also like that's when he's going to get the best version of Tsarukyan. So expending some of his own energy in those first rounds to force Tsarukyan to expend his is most likely the smartest way to go for him. In the third round, when he sees Tsarukyan kind of a bit more laboured and he's taking a little bit longer to step through with that back foot before he throws his lead kicks, and now you can start to see it coming and start to time him. Like, these are the moments where Beneil Dariush goes, okay, I've invested a good 10 minutes, now it's time to reap the rewards, and to start then stepping on the gas a little bit more and forcing Tsarukyan to deal with every range of MMA. Like, Dariush stepping into range, throwing power punches is going to be really useful to him, because it may force Tsarukyan to level change and go back to what is instinctively comfortable for him, which is getting on the legs. And Dariush, of course, we know he's good submissions. You can absolutely see him starting attacking necks and things in that situation where Tsarukyan doesn't have the energy to transition through those ranges as quickly as he did in the first and second. That's the way that I see it. If I'm Dariush, I'm playing the long game. If I'm Tsarukyan, I'm going to try and do as much damage to him in the first 2 rounds as possible, but, at a sensible pace. Dariush has never lost a decision, but he has been stopped 5 times. 4 knockouts and a submission. The submission was the neck crank from Chiesa. But aside from that, generally he's able to utilize his grappling with dominance as opposed to with from a defensive perspective. Striking, however, he does leave himself vulnerable at times, and this for me is where Tsarukyan can utilize his speed into range as well as the threat of the takedown to maybe open up headshots and capitalize on Dariush being being in a defensive mindset. If I'm Tsarukyan and I'm bouncing in and out of range and he's got that nice little level change built into his footwork as he's moving, and then sometimes he'll step through and he'll step up with that snap lead high kick, utilizing that constantly and forcing Dariush to think, okay, there might be a level change here, because of course he's going to be expecting it. Anytime Dariush starts to walk forward with punches or move into range to strike, a little level change feint from Tsarukyan might just halt him for a second and force him to think defensively. And they're the moments where Tsarukyan then can go back to his striking before setting up a takedown. Very much playing with those levels of up and down, and going in for your legs, coming up with a shot, going in for your legs, coming up. That could really force Dariush in those first couple of rounds to be very defensive and open up things that he doesn't want to open up, like takedowns, an easy takedown, or, of course, big punches while Tsarukyan's fresh. Quick tail of the tape. Let me just pull up UFC stats. So we've got Beneil Dariush at 22 wins and 5 losses with 1 draw. Arman Tsarukyan with 20 wins and 3 losses. Slightly longer average fight time for Arman Tsarukyan, but that will be a lot of that will be down to the fact that he went 25 minutes with Gamrot. 3-inch height advantage for Beneil Dariush, but the reach is the same. This is southpaw v orthodox, so that does open up these power kicks, which I think suits Dariush a little more. If you think you're Tsarukyan and you're in the opposite stance to your opponent, that lead leg kick is not quite as useful as it would be if he was in the opposite stance. If they were both southpaw, then you've got that snap lead body kick to the midsection, ideal. But southpaw v orthodox is a different situation. So this is where Tsarukyan's maybe going to be forced to use his lesser preferred leg, which is his right leg. But we'll see how that plays out. He might just be straight in on a double leg. One thing that it does do, which I will say, is it makes that level change onto the lead leg easier, because automatically his head goes to the inside, which is safer for neck attacks. If you're in the same stance as your opponent and you level change without thinking about it onto that single leg, your habit will be to put your head on the outside at the hip, which is where people can collect it for neck attacks. opposite stances, you can level change onto that single leg and your head naturally goes onto the inside, onto the stomach and the head, where you can start driving and turning. So there is a benefit there that might make Tsarukyan feel a little bit more comfortable based on the stances. Striking output slightly higher for Tsarukyan, slightly higher striking accuracy and striking defense for Dariush. This is pretty much the same when it comes to takedowns, but the opposite way around. Tsarukyan, of course, has an advantage in takedown volume. He's at 3.43 compared to 1.91 for Dariush. But then if you look at the takedown accuracy, so Beneil Dariush is 34% accuracy, and that is with 26 takedowns. Tsarukyan's got 2% higher at 36% with 28 takedowns. So, just a slight edge there when it comes to takedowns. But again, I feel like the level and the pedigree of Tsarukyan's strict wrestling, I think, could potentially be a real handful for Dariush. The advantage here for Dariush is the fact that he's a great no-gi grappler. He won blue belt, purple belt, and brown belt no-gi worlds, if I remember right. Very, very skilled grappler and very good at being oppressive in top position. But of course, if you're fighting a guy that has a freestyle wrestling base, putting them on their back is a real challenge. So this is why I feel like the opportunistic submissions of guillotines, darsas, anacondas, even potentially back takes, because the lion's share of Dariush's submissions do come from rear naked chokes, 5 rear naked chokes and 2 arm triangles, as well as an arm bar. So of course, anytime Tsarukyan starts to shoot and level change and he's starting to get tired and Dariush can sprawl and circle, that back attack is going to be there. One other thing I thought was interesting, though, even though the fight time is leaning in Tsarukyan's favor, Dariush is in third for control time and top position in the lightweight rankings. Tsarukyan is 8th in control time and 9th in top position, and there's a decent difference. Like Dariush has been an hour and 22 minutes in control and an hour top position, and Tsarukyan is 47 minutes control and 35 minutes top position. So Dariush has definitely spent a lot more time in those positions. So if he is able to get Tsarukyan there, of course you've got to be able to expect him to cause all kinds of problems. But fatigue will be a factor to get Tsarukyan in that position. And one other thing that stood out to me as well, because I rewatched the Charles Oliveira fight today, and Tsarukyan's very good at utilizing rear knees and rear elbows, either moving into or out of the clinch. He's very good at level changing and coming up with a rear knee or hitting with a rear elbow or doing it on the break as well. Dariush got hit with a lot of knees to the midsection by Charles Oliveira. And you've got to think that if you're Arman Tsarukyan and you're moving into range against someone that's southpaw, there's a good opportunity to crack him in the midsection with a good knee. Something else that might be worth watching out for. I think that's everything. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting fight. And I think both of these guys have got such a good technical understanding of the game across the board that we're going to see very, very seamless transitions from one range to another, which I'm always excited to see, because it really shows how like the grappling element, the wrestling element is integral to everything that mixed martial arts is built on. And I think we're going to see that in this fight. But then it's if Beneil Dariush can withstand a heavy wrestling offensive and utilize his defense to wear Tsarukyan out and then make him vulnerable for his finishing capabilities. 20 wins on Tsarukyan's record, 8 by knockout, 5 by submission, 3 rear naked chokes, a guillotine and anaconda. Dariush, 22 wins, 5 by knockout, 8 submissions, 5 rear naked chokes, 2 arm triangles and an arm bar. Should be a good grappling matchup this. I'm looking forward to it. All right, enjoy the fights. I'll see you next time.